Good afternoon, afternoon, everybody. This is Super Jack Strong here now. It's been a while since I've done videos. Oh, I apologize. I just haven't come up with an idea for a new video. And September 8th was a big day because September 8th, the day after Labor Day, I actually started school. So I'm now an 8th grader. So haha. I'm sure, I mean no offense, because some of you have probably went back to school before Labor Day, but I didn't go back to the day after Labor Day. But anyway, I'm going to do something I haven't done on my channel in quite a while. I'm going to do another episode of Jack Talkz. I know the last time I did an episode of Jack Talkz was in December, a few days before Christmas, when I reviewed the Polar Express, a Christmas movie. But I'm going to get back to that. I'm going to be reviewing a film that's a classic. This film was a huge holiday blockbuster. For 12 years, it held the record as the highest grossing film of all time. Mine was released in 1997, distributed by Paramount Pictures and 20th Century Fox. It is none other than Titanic, and this DVD is a 2012 DVD. Got this at Walmart in North Carolina back in 2012. And it says right there, written and directed, because this film was directed by James Cameron. And this film stars Leonardo DiCaprio as Jack Dawson. Also stars Kate Winslet as Rose Bacater. There's also an elderly Rose who narrates the film, because the whole story is told through flashback. Because this is based on the true story of how the Titanic sank, except the love romance was just added. Which the elderly Rose is played by Gloria Stewart. Also stars Billy Zane as Cal Hockley, who is Rose's 30-year-old fiance. Also stars Bill Paxton as Brock Lovett, who is a person in the modern day scenes that looks for the necklace on the Titanic. Also stars Susie Amos as Lizzie Calvert, who is the elderly Rose's granddaughter, because we know Rose changed her name to Calvert. Also stars Frances Fisher as Ruth DeWitt, who is Rose's mother. Also stars David Warner as Spicer Lovejoy, who is Cal's assistant. Also stars Katie Bates as Molly Brown, who is person on the ship. Also stars Victor Garber as Thomas Andrews, who the person who built the Titanic ship, and Bernard Hill as Captain John Smith. But anyways, you can see here's the spine. And the back it says, "Experience one of the greatest films like you've never seen before." And the film is actually split over 2 discs, because this film is a long film, because we know the runtime for this is 194 minutes. So yes, this film is 3 hours and 14 minutes. It was actually released, 20th Century Fox and Paramount Pictures worked together on this, except they were separately this, because in North America, and also Lightstorm Entertainment worked with them on that. But anyway, in North America, only the Paramount logo appears. However, in other countries outside North America, only the 20th Century Fox logo and the Lightstorm Entertainment logo appear, and not the Paramount logo. So, on this DVD, the film opens with the Paramount logo, except it's kind of different. It doesn't have the 1986 Paramount logo. Instead, it has the current 2012 Paramount logo. However, the current logo has music. Well, in this, they take the music out. But hey, that's okay. I'm going to open this up. See right there, we got an eco case right there. And anyways, you can see, and unfortunately they're on the standard greatest, but that's okay. Here's disc 1, which has the first half of the film. And here's disc 2 with the second half of the film and the bonus features, which basically the bonus features are actually a bunch of deleted scenes, which there were 30 deleted scenes, which includes an alternate ending. You could find those deleted scenes on YouTube, but anyway, I'm going to get to review. And, you know, the film was released in theaters in December of 1997. So, starts off, we go to a modern day scene set in, I believe, 1997 or 96, and we go, a man named Brock Lovett is looking, he finds underwater, he finds the sunken Titanic and looks through all the pieces there. He's trying to find this rare necklace with a blue diamond on it. So because of that, he looks around and he finds a safe in there where he thinks the necklace is. So then he he brings it up to the ship, and all his friends are celebrating. They think that they found it. However, when they open it, when they open the safe, they realize that the necklace isn't in there. But they find a bunch of drawings. They're all covered like in mud and stuff. So they take up to this area where they clean out the drawings, and one of them, and Brock, like, was kind of upset, but he thinks that, it's probably somewhere else on the sunken ship. Later on, when someone's cleaning out one of the paintings, he finds a drawing of of a naked teenage girl who is naked but only wearing the necklace, in which the date that picture is dated April 14th, 1912, which was the day the Titanic sank. So later on we go into a montage. Next we go to this house somewhere in which we see a woman named Rose Calvert, who is like doing pottery, like, you know, working on that, and also her granddaughter Lizzie's with her. And then they see a TV, like, you know, thing on the news, and they see that Brock is like showing the picture. So then Rose gives Brock a call and tells her that the woman in the picture is hers. So she goes to the ship that Brock is on, and, like, you know, she goes to see the drawing, and she tells him that she was on the Titanic, and she takes a look at all the stuff on the Titanic, and then she tells the story of, she decides to go, and then we go, and then she begins to tell the story, because the whole story is told through flashbacks. So we're told she goes to, the scene now changes to 1912, when the Titanic was is about to set sail, and Rose and her fiance, in which we see Rose, a 17-year-old girl named Rose Bucater, I think that's how you pronounce her name, who is the young version, and she's getting on the Titanic, and she's 17 years old, and she has a fiance, a man named Cal Hockley, who is 30 years old, and her fiance, and her mother is also with her. Her father had passed away, but when they get on the ship, meanwhile, at this place, like a game is going on, and a man and a guy named Jack Dawson, who is quite a coincidence to the fact that my name is Jack, him and his friend are playing this card game, and they win the tickets on the Titanic, because the Titanic, we know, is leaving from England to America. So then Jack and his friend win the tickets. They get onto the ship. They're able to make it up onto the ship. And so yeah, and so then when Rose is putting her stuff away, she looks at a drawing, and she said the painter was something Picasso, because we all know back then they didn't know that Picasso, you know, would become a very famous painter. And so that's what she does. And later on that day, Jack and his friend, you know, are on the I forgot what his friend's name was, but then he goes to they're out on the deck, and Jack sees Rose on the ship on the first class, while Jack is on third class, and he kind of almost falls in love with her. Later on that night, Jack is smoking, and then he sees Rose, you know, running by, and then, like, he follows Rose and sees that Rose is up, you know, outside the rail and by the back of the ship, and she is about to jump off and commit suicide. Jack, however, is able to convince her not to jump off, so when he's helping her up, she slips on her dress and is about to fall off. Jack's able to pull her off, but, however, he gets her onto the ground, but then a bunch of people come, and they think, like, you know, Jack, like, you know, was trying to hurt her, so then they handcuff him. However, Rose explains to Cal and all the other guys that, you know, tells a lie, saying that she wanted to see the propeller, and she slipped, and Jack saved her. So then, because of that, Jack is rewarded by joining them for dinner the next night. Right. So then later on that day, Jack and Rose are... and later on that night, Calvert goes, like, you know, to Rose's room and gives her a gift that he was saving for their wedding, but then, you know, he ended up deciding to give it to her then. It was a rare necklace with a blue diamond, which is what Brock in the modern day scenes is looking for. So that's what's happening. But then later on, so then the next day, Jack and Rose are talking to each other, and a woman named Molly Brown has aboard the ship, and, like, you know, Jack and Rose are by the edge of the ship, and, you know, they're just spitting. So later on, Rose has to go get ready for dinner, and Molly Brown sees Jack and, like, you know, brings her. She's able to give him this tuxedo, which is the same size as her son, so it's able to fit Jack. So Rose and Jack then go to the great hall, or go to this dining room where they find, you know, where they you know, they dine, and then later on, Rose meets Jack at the clock in the center of the ship, and they go to another party on third class, which is a big, like, party, and they're doing a bunch of dancing. And later on, Jack, like, you know, Rose and Cal are having a out are having a a lunch, and then Rose Cal has like a tantrum, like saying something, and then Rose's mother tells her that she doesn't want her seeing Jack again. So later on, Jack kind of finds out about this and was kind of upset. And then later on, when Jack is standing on the front of the ship, and Rose is there, and then he helps her, and and she's almost like climbing on top, which is basically the image that's right there. And then later on, and then we go back to the modern day scene. We go back to the modern day scenes in 1990, where Rose Calvert then explains that day, was the last time the Titanic ever ever saw daylight. Anyway, and later on, earlier in the film, also, I haven't really mentioned Mr. Andrews that much. Mr. Andrews, he built the Titanic, and it was meant to be unsinkable, so it wasn't supposed to sink. So later on, the elderly Rose then explains that later on that night, Jack and Rose go back to her room, and she shows Jack the necklace and says she wants Jack to draw her wearing only the necklace. So she pays Jack a dime, because back then, a dime cost a lot of money back in 1912. So that's what they did. So that's what happened. So then, she has a robe on, explaining that, and then she drops the rose, revealing her naked. So Jack is kind of nervous, so then he goes and says, sit out on the bed, the couch, and lays a couch on her, so he draws her. And later on that night, Lovejoy is coming in there, but, Jack decides to, Jack and Rose run around the ship, and with her chasing them. And then later on, they go into the engine room, which is where all the men are working on the engine that keeps the boat going. And they go into this area where there's a little car there, and then they have sex in there, which they're seen sweating at the time. So then later on, Jack, Cal and Lovejoy figuring out, what they're going to do. So because of that, about Jack, so then they come up with an idea. And later on that night, Jack and Rose are out on the starboard, and they see an iceberg is right ahead of the ship. Captain John orders the men to do something about it, and then the Titanic accidentally crashes into the iceberg. So then, because of that, but Jack and Rose think, okay, maybe everything will be okay. But later on, when Jack and Rose are going back to her cabin, Cal goes by them as well, and secretly Cal puts the necklace with the blue diamond inside of Jack's pocket. When they go back, Jack is is caught, with it, and Jack tells Rose that she knows that he didn't do it. So Jack is then taken away, and Rose and Cal are then told to go up deck, and it's really cold that night, because this was back in April, so it was really cold, and they're told to go up because they realize that, so then they're told to go there, and when they bump into Mr. Andrews, Mr. Andrews then explains that the Titanic is sinking. And so then then they're loading boats with women and children first, getting on to go and find this other ship. When they get Rose, Rose's mother and Molly in there, Rose says she doesn't want to be with Cal and would rather be with Jack. So then she leaves them, and Cal tries to stop her, but then Rose spits in his eye. Of course, there's also a line. Rose says to Cal, I'm trying my best to make sure I got this right. If I got this wrong, I'll post the right line. She says, she says, "You unwinding tame bastard." I doubt that was the correct line. I'm sure you guys probably know what the line is. Just let me know in the comments, and I'll post on annotations. But then later on, Rose goes searching for Jack, and Mr. Andrews explains that he's down below. So she goes to the bottom floor, which the water is now going in there. And then Rose goes to her room and sees that Jack is by a pole and he's handcuffed in there. And Rose goes looking for help, and then she finds an axe. And there she uses the axe and breaks the handcuffs, and Jack is free. So Jack and Rose are able to make it back up to the top, and then Cal finds them and gives Cal had put the necklace in his pocket, and he gave his jacket to Rose, which had the necklace in it. And Cal explains that Rose can get into the boat, with the other women and children, and that him and Jack will find a boat a boat to go there. So a boat to to take them. So when Rose gets into the boat, she's with the other women, and then when the boat is towards the Shattered, Rose gets off the boat and then gets back onto the ship. And then Jack, and Rose find each other, and Rose realizes that, Rose and Jack finally, really love each other, and Cal sees this, and then he grabs Lovejoy gun and starts shooting it, and it's then out to kill Jack and Rose. And then Jack and Rose are able to escape in there, but Cal realizes tells Lovejoy that she now has the necklace. Jack and Rose are down back at the bottom of the ship, and they find a little boy there. They're trapped, but they try to help him, and then the boy's father comes and grabs him, and then a huge thing of water is coming, and the water is freezing because at the time, the temperature of the water would be probably the temperature of it being if it was winter time. So then Jack and Rose then are on their way back up to the top of the ship when they're able to escape. Meanwhile, everybody is trying to get off the ship, and meanwhile, Cal tries to find a way to get onto one of the boats. So he finds a little girl who's all alone crying, and Cal takes her and uses her to get onto a ship. Cal's able to get on a boat, and meanwhile, many other men are trying to get onto the boat, but one of the crewmen, is aiming a gun to keep him away. But then when the guy shoots the gun, he kills one person. The guy feels bad about it, so he goes to Captain John, one of the crewmen, gives him one of these, you know what I mean. And then he puts the gun towards his ear, and he shoots the gun, and he leans back, and he dies. And then meanwhile, Captain John realizes that he needs to die, so he goes into the captain's area, and they find he decides to wait there till the water comes. And meanwhile, Jack and Rose are going back up towards the ship, and they find Mr. Andrews in an area. And he says that he promised that he would make this ship unsinkable. However, he never was able to fulfill it. So because of that, he decides to die. So Jack and Rose then continue their way back up to the top. And meanwhile, the men playing this music, decide to play music to a sad tune, in which we see a montage of Captain John Smith and Mr. Andrews getting ready to die. And we also see a little elderly couple in a bed with water under them getting ready to die, and then a mother and her 2 children are in her bed, and the mother's telling them a bedtime story. So later on, the ship is then really starting to sink, and Jack and Rose are able to make it back up to the top. Of course, all the boats are gone, so, and then finally, Jack and Rose are able to make it to, they're holding on to the back, and then the ship splits in half, and a lot of people have been falling off the ship, so, the ship was falling apart, so a lot of stuff landed on people and crushed them. So Jack and Rose were able to stay at the top, they were able to stay, and then finally the other half of the ship at which they're on sinks to the bottom. And Jack and Rose promise to hold on to each other, but then they accidentally get separated, and Jack floats away in the water. They're able to reunite each other, in which then they find, Jack and Rose then find a piece of a wall, and Rose gets on it, and Jack then can't get on. But many people, I just want to stop telling the story for a second, but many people realize that, after that, many people realize that the size of the wall that they got, Jack could have fit on that, and I had to agree on that. So because of that, so now James Cameron wishes he found another, he used a smaller piece. So later on, it's really cold in there. Jack is trying his best to survive. So later on, Jack is talking, but he's kind of weak because, of how cold he is. And he's trying to promise Rose that she'll die, warm in bed. And she's 100 years old, and she'll have children and grandchildren. Later on, a boat comes back and finds a bunch of dead bodies of the people and, is shouting. Rose wakes up and, finds this, and she sees Jack with his eyes closed and thinking he's sleeping. She tries, moving him and calling his name to wake him up. And then he's not waking up, and then Rose realizes that Jack has died of hypothermia. So Rose is really upset about this, so then she removes Jack's frozen hands from the painting and lets go of him, and he disappears under the water. Rose, however, made sure she could keep her promise, so she grabs one of the men's whistles and gets the guy's attention, and she's brought back up to his ship. Later on, Cal tries finding her on the ship. The Titanic people, the survivors, go on, but they're but he's not able to find her. And later on, you know, he shot a pistol in his mouth, according to what the elderly Rose said. The elderly Rose Calvert, who is, by the way, she's 100 years old. She revealed that, you know, she was the only survivor that was still on the shipwreck that survived. Now, for the past 84 years, she had never mentioned Jack to anybody except, and not even to her husband that she had at the time. So later on that night, Brock and Lizzie are talking to each other and on his ship and saying how she never really got Titanic. So, this little cigar that, sorry, a motorcycle just went by. But anyway, a cigar that Brock was saving for when he found the necklace. But you know, so he threw in the water. Meanwhile, Rose Calvert actually, late at night, you know, is going by the edge of the ship that she's on, and she reveals that she had the necklace. And she drops the necklace into the water. Later on that night, it's kind of revealed, they don't really mention, but many of you guys, Rose has died at 100 years old. Because of that, we see her in heaven, and she's back on the Titanic and reunited with Jack. Anyway, so yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. And we know Titanic is one of the greatest films ever made. It's, as I said, it's in my favorites movie list. It's in 4th place. And we know for 12 years, this film held the record as the highest grossing film of all time until 12 years later in 2009 when Avatar broke the record, which was also written and directed by James Cameron. But still, Titanic is now the 2nd highest grossing film of all time. It's also the second. It's also the highest grossing film of the 20th century. Yeah, but Titanic, it's a great film. If you haven't seen Titanic, I highly recommend it. It's worth a shot. Alright, and that's episode 12 of Jack Talkz. I will see you all for my next video.